This video is going to cover the 2.4 homework solutions. So for number 35, we can do two things here. We can realize that we do have two linear functions, and you could graph them using your y equals mx plus b, start at the y-intercept, and then move your slope, and then erase whatever you don't need based on the restriction here in the inequality. Or you could do a table for each. So like, for example, let me go ahead and color code this. And let me go ahead and I'll graph this one in red, and I'll graph this one in blue. So for over here, if I do the red one, and I plug in values that satisfy the inequality, I have to plug in -4, and then I'll pick another number that's less than -4, so I could plug in -5. So -4 plus 6, and I get 2, and then -5 plus 6, and I get positive 1. So I'm going to go ahead and graph these order pairs. This would be one way that I could get that graphed. Or remember, you could also start at your y-intercept, which is 6. Your slope here is 1, so you could rise 1, run 1. So if I go ahead and put my first point on 6, and then from there, I could go ahead and go down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, make this line. And then what I need to do is, before I connect the points, remember I had to only have x values that were -4 or less than that. So let me go ahead and connect just from the -4 and point. It's less than, so it's going to go to the left. Let me go ahead and erase these points. Now, if I would have graphed the points that I found when I just plugged them in, notice it was the order pair -4, +2, and -5, +1. And I got the same type of graph. Let me go ahead and do the next one. And again, I could use my y equals mx plus b. I could also go ahead and come over here and make a table. 1/2 x minus 4. I have to plug in the number that's here, but notice this inequality symbol, because it's just a greater than symbol. When I go to graph the order pair with the x value of -4, it will be an open circle. So if I plug in -4 and then I pick another number that's greater than -4, I'm going to go ahead and plug in 0. It'll have the least amount of work. So I'm going to be plugging in 1/2 of -4 minus 4. Half of -4 is -2 minus 4, and I get -6. Then when I plug in the 0, half of 0 minus 4, 0 minus 4, and then I would be graphing the order pair 0, -4. So let me go ahead and get those two on my graph. So I'll graph the order pair 0 and -4. And the -4, -6, but it's going to be an open circle. So if I come over here, open circle, and it's greater than, so I point my arrow to the right. Now again, I could have graphed this using y equals mx plus b. My first point would have been on my y-intercept, which is -4. My slope was 1/2, so I would rise 1 and run 2. So from here, I could go up 1 and over 2, or down 1 and over 2, and then I could still get the same graph. So this is my piecewise function for number 35. Again, remember, it is also on CalcChat. I'll show you the screenshot of that after I work out the problems here. Let's try the next one. So for number 36, I have a linear function and I also have a quadratic here. So if I do number 36, again, if you want to just do a table, so let's go ahead and do this first one in red. Second one I'll do in blue. So for the red one, I need to plug in x values that are 2 or less than 2. So I'll go ahead and I'm going to plug in 2. And then I'll also plug in 0 because that's also less than 2. And I'm plugging that into 4 plus x. So 4 plus 2, and that gives me 6. 4 plus 0, and I get 4. So I would graph these two ordered pairs. So, and I could also graph it the same way using my y equals mx plus b. And then I could also just erase what I don't need. So let's go ahead and get those 2 points on my graph here. So 2 and positive 6 right here, and then 0 and 4 right here. And these are all values that are less than or equal to 2. So again, it's linear, so I would just connect the points and make a straight line. If you wanted to graph it using y equals mx plus b, first point on positive 4, and then your slope is 1. So you could go down 1 over 1 or up and right, and you still get the same graph of the line. Notice I put a closed circle on when x equals 2 because it had the less than or equal to. Now when I go to do the blue one though, again, I'm going to plug in some x values. And when I plug in, I'm going to plug in 2 because that's the number in the inequality. But then I'm also going to choose a number that's larger than 2, and I'll just plug in 3. So 2 squared plus 2, and that gives me 6. And then 3 squared plus 2, that'll be 9 plus 2, and that's 11. So this one's going to kind of go off the graph. Now remember, again, because it had just a greater than symbol, this will be an open circle here. Okay, so now when we graph the blue graph, notice that when I graph the order pair 2, 6, it's going to be an open circle. So I'm just going to put an open circle around that red, and then the next order pair is going to be 3, 11, which goes way off the graph. Now remember, we talked about the parent functions. This was the x squared graph. So this is going to go off of the graph, and we're going to take it in a U shape. And it's only part of the parabola. Next we'll graph number 37. So we have the graph down here. So we have 2 functions here. Let's go ahead and highlight. First one will be in red, and then this one I'll do in blue. So again, for the red one, this is going to be the parabola again. Now, if you remember how we did our shifts, this is actually going to be like a reflection. It's also going to be shifted 1 unit down or 1 unit up, and then it's also going to be 1 unit to the right. But let's go ahead and we can just plug in a couple values that satisfy x being less than or equal to 2. So if I go ahead and write it here, 1 minus x minus 2, no, x minus 1 squared, and then my x values have to be 2 or less, so I could plug in 2 and 0. So 1 minus 2 minus 1 squared, 2 minus 1 is 1, so 1 squared is 1, so that order pair is going to be 2, 0, and then I'll plug in 0, 1 minus 0 minus 1 squared, 1 minus negative 1 squared is 1, so 1 minus 1, and I graph the order pair 0, 0. So that would be for the red one, so let me go ahead and get that on here. So again, it's going to be a closed circle on the 2, so 2, 0. And then I'm going to graph the order pair 0, 0. Now remember, this is a parabola, so we might want to go ahead and plug in 1 just to see how it goes. So 1, and then when I plug in 1 minus 1 squared, 1 minus 1 is 0, So this is going to be the order pair 1, 1, because this equals 1. And then after that, it's going to go ahead and go up and down to the left because it was less than. Then I can go ahead and do the square root. And again, this where it might be easier to do your shifts. So it's underneath. So this is going to be a shift over. You would think it's to the left, but it's backwards. So it's going to be 2 units to the left. I can go ahead and plug in the values. So if I take x, square root of x minus 2, my x values have to be 2 or bigger. So if I plug in 2 minus 2, this gives me 0. Square root of 0 is 0. And then if I plug in another order pair, let's say I plug in 6, because if I do 6 minus 2, I get the square root of 4, which is 2. So let me go ahead and get both of those on there. Also remember, in the inequality here, this is going to be an open circle around the 2. So at 2, 0, which is the same point, put an open circle, and then I'm going to graph the order pair 6, 2. And then this would be greater than, so it would go off in this direction. So that's the graph for number 37. Let's try number 38. So again, I can graph the first one in red. And I'll graph the second one in blue. So for the red one, I could do my little table. So the square root of x, 4 plus x. And again, my x values have to be, I need to plug in a 0. And then I also have to find some numbers that are less than 0 to plug in. So let's go ahead and plug in -4. So when I do 4 plus 0, I get the square root of 4, which is 2. And then here, when I plug in -4, that gives me 0. So that makes it a lot easier to graph. So I'll go ahead and graph 0, 2. It is going to be an open circle because it's got just the less than symbol. And then the other order pair will be the -4, 0. Now my graph is going to stop here because if I plug in -5, then I'm going to end up with an imaginary solution. Now let's get the other side. So if I do that one in blue, x, 4 minus, square root of 4 minus x. And this time my values of x have to be 0 or greater. So again, let me go ahead and plug in 0, and then I'll also plug in 4. So 4 minus 0, that gives me 2 when I square root 4. And then here, 4 minus 4, that gives me 0. Square root of 0 is 0. So this time, at this order pair, it's going to be a closed circle. So I'll go ahead and fill that in blue. And then come over here. And then again, I don't want to go below the x-axis. So if I plug in a 5, then it's going to end up giving me an imaginary solution. So that would be the graph here. Let's go ahead and try number 39. Again, I'll do, I've got 3 different graphs here. So again, I'll do the first one in red, the second one in blue, and then I can do the third one in green. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first one. Again, another parabola. So let me go ahead and over here I'll do the table for number 39. So x, and then my equation is 4 minus x squared. My values for x have to be less than -2. So I can go ahead and plug in -2 to begin with. So 4 minus -2 squared 4 minus 4, and that's 0. And then I can pick another number just to see the direction. Again, remember it's a parabola, so it's going to take on part of the U shape. So I could also plug in -3, because that's less than -2. So 4 minus -3 squared, 4 minus 9, and I would be graphing -5. So let's go ahead and get that. Also remember, for the -2 here, this is going to be an open circle. So I'll come over here to -2 comma 0, open circle, and then at -3, -5, this is how my parabola is going down. Now for the middle part, that'll be in blue, and I'm only going to be using the numbers in this range from -2 to 0. Let me go ahead and change my color here to blue. So let's do here for 39, we'll do the table here. So x, and then my equation is going to be 3 plus x. Again, I could put it on my y-intercept of 3 and erase what I don't need, but let's go ahead and just plug in. I'm actually going to plug in -2 and 0. Those are the endpoints. On the 0, it'll be an open circle. So 3 plus -2 is 1. And then 3 plus 0 equals 3. So let me come over here to -2, +1, and this is the closed circle. But then when I plug in the 0 and get the 3, that's going to be the open circle. Connect it, and there's that little segment. And then the last part of this I'll do in green. I could come over here to the side. So x, and then I'm going to plug in x squared plus 1. And again, this time my restriction here is 0, and then numbers that are greater than 0. So I could plug in 1. So 0 squared plus 1 equals 1. 1 squared plus 1 is 2. So let me go ahead and graph those two order pairs. Again, it's gonna be a closed circle at 0, 1, and then at 1, 2. And again, it's a parabola, so I can make it sort of U-shaped. So that would be that piecewise function. Have one last one, it's number 40. And again, I'll do it in the 3 colors. So I can do the first one in red, the second one in blue, the third one in green. So let me come down here. Let's do a table for the red. That equation is 2x plus 1. My restriction is x values that are 1 or less, -1. So -1 I can plug in, and then I could also plug in -2. So let's go ahead, and 2 times -1 plus 1, -2 plus 1 equals -1. 2 times -2 plus 1, -4 plus 1, -3. So I can go ahead and get both of these order pairs on my graph. So again, this is closed circle. So -1, -1. I can go ahead and see if I can zoom in here. So right here. And then -2, -3. Right here. And it's linear. So I'll just make my line pointing down that way. Then I have the middle portion, which I'm doing here in blue. So again, I can do my little table here. 2x squared minus 1. And again, I'm going to plug in -1. And I'll go ahead and plug in 0 and 1. This is going to be an open circle. This one will be a solid circle. So 2 times -1 squared minus 1 gives me 2 minus 1, which is 1. 2 times 0 squared minus 1 is just negative 1. And then 2 times 1 squared minus 1 is 2 minus 1, which is 1. So let me go ahead and get these 3 ordered pairs, put on the graph. And again, when I plug in and plot the negative 1, positive 1, this one's going to be an open circle. And then here at the 0, negative 1, and then up again at the 1, 1. So there's my little U shape because it's a parabola. And then lastly, I have 1 minus x squared. I'm picking numbers, values of x that are 1 or larger. This one will be an open circle because it's just a greater than symbol. And then I can also plug in 2. So 1 minus 1 squared is 0. 1 minus 2 squared is negative 3. So let me go ahead and graph both of these. Again, this is an open circle here on the 1, 0, and then 2, negative 3. And again, it's a parabola, so sort of make a partial U shape there. So that is the 2.4 homework. Also keep in mind that with your textbook, you can get the app called CalcView. And it actually, you just look for the picture of the textbook, and it actually has videos of select homework problems worked out. So it does work out in the video from 2.4. It does work out number 35 for you. And then I also put here, these are the screenshots of the answers for the homework from CalcChat. So this is their official worked out answer for number 35. Here is number 37, and here is number 39. So again, don't forget, you always have access to CalcChat, and you can also see the problems worked out. So that is it for the homework for 2.4.